here's a morning for you. We got a full moon on one side, and if we pan over this way, we've got just a beautiful sunrise. And then of course we've got some pretty awesome winds starting this morning, so it's gonna be a fun final two matches, and we'll see what it brings us. Second relay is getting up. It's about what we expected. A couple cleans, a lot of 199s, a lot of 198s. And pretty much a stiff headwind coming at us. It was a little switchy. So guys were having to play both sides of the target. And so second relay's up, and then third, and I'm shooting fourth. So I still got a while. Final day of shooting, third day of long range, the last day. Let me tell you what happened. So one of my good friends, who is an incredible shooter, finished third place for the grand aggregate at the end of this whole thing. Just a really great guy. He saw I was struggling with my gun. He knew it wasn't doing well. And as is, I don't want to say it's common, but it's definitely not uncommon. You know, people borrow other gear. And I can't tell you how many people throughout the last 7 days have been borrowing a gun from somebody else, knowing that their gun had, you know, kind of, I don't want to say broke because it didn't break, but it, you know, started shooting big, started throwing vertical, started doing something weird. I scored for a couple different guys through the week who were borrowing a gun from somebody. And it's one of the great things about our sport. People want to see competition. They don't want to win because your gun wasn't at its top. They want to win because they shot better. And it's, you know, it's just, it's sort of one of those like goofy, let's call it uplifting things about our sport, is that people do care about other shooters. And I've even seen people who are, you know, neck and neck, not in this particular match, but I've seen people who have, you know, really been at the top of a match and a gun goes south, and, you know, one of those two competitors will let the other guy borrow a gun. And it's totally within the rules. As long as you start the match and finish that match, meaning the individual relay with the same gun, unless you have a physical mechanical error, then you're allowed to shoot a different gun for every match along the way. So with long range, we had a total of 8 matches, 3 on Thursday, 3 on Friday, and 2 on Sunday. Each one of those 8 matches, you can shoot with a different gun. You are not required to shoot the whole thing with the same gun. So people will adapt and in an effort to overcome. So in this particular case, I borrowed a buddy's gun. It was shooting incredibly well. And, you know, at the risk of sounding stupid, I needed a confidence booster. I knew I was making good win calls. I needed to validate that my problem was in the gun and ammo and not in myself this week, because then I would have a good roadmap for this winter to work on. So grabbed his gun, set it up, took a lot of sighters. What do we got? 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. I took 16 sighters, which is kind of an obscene amount. But I really wanted to get used to his gun, and you can see it wasn't necessarily helping. You know, I was throwing 8s and 7s and 9s. The conditions weren't great. It was a rough Sunday morning, as you can see from my video. It had turned, so relay 1 shot, relay 2 shot, relay 3 shot. There was a pit change in between. I finally shot on relay 4. Relays 1, 2, and 3 all shot with a pretty consistent headwind that was, you know, pretty readable and only required maybe 1 ring or 2 ring at the most hold off. By the time 4th relay started, which is what I was on, it had started to turn from a headwind to about a 2 o'clock to almost 3 o'clock crosswind, and it was pretty erratic and really building. So this was just a lot of me testing the gun along with the conditions, and then I just went right into it and it felt great. You know, X, 10, 10, kind of a corner 9 came out, and then you can see it was just a really good relay. Now 196 was still, you know, bottom of the first page or something like that for the relays, but the first and second relays especially had a ton of like 198s, 199s, 200s, because the conditions were a little more favorable to shooting at that point. So I was kind of bummed. You know, I still thought, well, great, it's better. I know that I can, for as bad as the conditions were, I was calling some great wind, and I shot a 196. So I had one more relay left to kind of prove to myself that I belonged here. Let's see how that turned. Relay of the entire week of shooting. mentally just drained, but also really excited. I was getting used to the gun I was borrowing, and I thought, okay, this is going to be my last shot to prove to myself uh, that I belong at these matches. It's a lot of money, a lot of time, it's a lot of mental preparation. I needed to know that I could do this. So it came out, you only get two sighters, so shot a 10, shot a 9, had to take a wild guess after that 9, and went a little brave on it, pulled an X, hit a wide 9, and then hit another wide 9 on this side. And I wasn't feeling great. I had another high left corner 9. Some weak calls. What's frustrating about this is every one of these 3 shots, as soon as I broke it, I turned to my scorer and told him where it was going to hit. Pulled the trigger here. I said, that's going out the right. Boom, out the right. I said, this one's going out the left. Boom, it went out the left up here. And this one it went out the right. And, knowing where the shot's going to go when you break a bad shot is, it's obviously important because it means I knew what I was doing, but it also means I'm an idiot because I shouldn't have broke those shots if I wasn't sure. Finished at 197 and, wasn't feeling super, super confident because of how the rotations work. Relays 1 and 2, which are the top shooters for the week, shot last, so they still all had to shoot. But I still personally was feeling pretty good about only dropping 4 on the previous and 3 on this one, dropping 7 on the day with the conditions as erratic as they were. It felt pretty good. And, all I can say is that I gave it everything I had. I was very fortunate that I was able to borrow a gun for this last day and just try something different. And I guess we're going to see how it turns out here. Give me a second. Check that out. I got a gold medal today and a bronze medal. But let's back up a second and you can watch me get them. And then I'll explain what happened.
John Messick. And here's the one I tried to start with. Day 4, aggregate, 3rd place, FCR.
You're smiling under there, right?
F open, 3rd place, John Messick. Second place, Tim Vaught.
Great job, John.
Thank you.
Smile.
Get my name called and go up and get my awards. The gold medal here was for the top score in the second match, the one where I shot a 197. And then I got the bronze here for the third best score on the day for the combined of the 2 matches. 1 point back of second and first. First and second had the same score. First person out X'd them. And, I could sit there and say, well, 1 point, God, I wish I'd done this and wish I had done that. As my buddy Eric Cortina says, feast for the day and forget the past. Enjoy what you've won. Don't sit there and kick yourself for what you didn't do. You did everything you could at the time, and whatever the spoils of that are, you need to enjoy them for what they are and not what they could have been. So I was very excited, very grateful to my buddy Todd for letting me borrow a gun. And, just a really great way to end. Now, there are those people who say, well, these medals are what they call an asterisk medal, meaning there's an asterisk next to it because you didn't load the ammo and you didn't build the gun. There's different ways people look at that. I mean, I could have just as easily gone to a store and bought ammo that someone else loaded and won the match and nobody would say that. The fact that somebody who's very good at what they do let me borrow a gun that happened to be shooting incredibly well. It is what it is. I still had to make some incredible wind calls. The wind was still very tricky. Lots of buildup, lots of let-offs. And I'm not going to let the fact that I had to borrow a gun diminish my accomplishments here. I'll let someone else do that if they need to. So left the match with 2 bronze medals, 1 gold, and just a really great week. And that's all that can be said. We leave a little smarter, hopefully with a little more information in our heads, a little more practice, and every one of these matches has a habit of tearing me down and building me back up, and it makes the next match that much better. So As my wife says, you need to just calm down in the beginning. Every time you go to nationals, you start off kind of bad and you settle down, and every time you've come home with medals. So feel confident in your ability to shoot. Just know that you can do things that will get you a medal if you do them all right, and have some confidence in yourself. And that's a constant struggle for me. So on to the next thing, and talk to you guys soon. Thanks for coming along on this journey this week.